Was that? It sounded like a cat. Holley. One barrel. Welcome back to the channel. We are working on this really cool Holley carburetor. It is completely gummed up. This is off of a 1962-ish. I think it's a 62 exactly, but for now we're gonna say 62-ish AMC Rambler station wagon. If you go back in our shorts, I'll put a link up here. We got this car to run after having been sitting for, gosh, what was it, like 40 years or something? Had plates on it from the 70s, I think it was. And got it to run just off of idle, but this was our limiting factor. We couldn't feed it onions or nothing. So it does look like it is going to be a running engine though, but before we can do any of that other kind of stuff, this thing has to come off idle. We got to be able to give it some revs and see if that engine is really going to wake up or not. So let's tear this down. Pretty cool though. Holley one barrel. It is, there's numbers actually cast, so no tag on these, but a 2051B is the majority of the numbers you're going to need to find a kit, and very elusive kits they are. Holley of course doesn't make one, but Walker does, and Walker kits are just fine. But a little over a week, even through the Irish parts store, for this bad ride to find its way to my local counter. So we should, I suppose, go ahead and, without breaking the plastic, you know that rule, see if we got the stuff and the things that are about right. And I can't tell. We're gonna have to take a couple layers of this apart. I do see bowl gasket that looks about right, so let's just go ahead and start disassembly here, and we'll compare as we go. Maybe first we got to get this throat off of here. I'll go ahead and fast forward y'all, and I don't know, we're in the country. This is a rescue off of a local farm here, so let's go ahead and toss in some country music. I gotta take that all the way off. All right, we'll break in if we find cool stuff. Here's our bowl and our float. The needle and seat is stuck, of course, but otherwise a lot of varnish, but nothing too nasty looking in there. Want to just make sure that this float still works, but kind of cool. Sideways, here, let me just make sure you can see it. Sideways needle and seat. Kind of neat. You can get to it from here, I suppose. All right. Continue on. Okay. Huh. Wow. Not bad. It's actually not stuck. Now this O-ring has seen better days, but the needle itself and the seat, oh, not too bad. this is where our stick is. This won't move at all. Try and reuse this guy. So just gonna kind of gingerly push him up and off of this air horn there. Dang it. I think that's about it. I mean, we're gonna go ahead and throw it in the vat. We'll clean up our carb mat here. Let this soak for about an hour. I think it's pretty varnished up. But overall, actually, other than the varnish, pretty clean on the internals. So let's get it in the carb bucket. All the metal parts go in, and we'll check back in an hour. Real quick, check this out. This is the accelerator pump. We got it pried out of there. It's a little warped and looks a little Yankee, but it's not torn anywhere. That guy might have actually helped move some fuel. Now, it was sitting in varnish, and I still don't think the other parts and pieces would have worked together, but that's old parts and old gas versus new parts and new gas. Pretty remarkable. That thing's still in one piece. Here's a bit of good news. While we started the soak on all the other metal parts, we took that base plate that was stuck and we had it soaking in some Berryman, some PB, and I don't know what else I squirted in that pan. And yeah, after some careful manipulation and a little bit of working it out, we're happy. And there's no play in those bushings, you guys. So we're gonna dump this in the carb can now. It's only been about 15 minutes, so it should have about 45 minutes of cooking, and we'll be ready to reassemble, hopefully. All right, we're out of the carb cleaner. We had to do just a little bit of extra cleaning around the air horn here. It was pretty crusty, and we actually took this apart, and the choke flapper here didn't get as clean as we'd like to see it, so we kind of shined that up with the Scotch-Brite and die grinder. A little bit of extra carb cleaner into the fuel bowl area and the fuel pickup areas, just to make sure all the little crumbs are out of there. And then we went over the base portion. This is the portion that was stuck with a wire brush, this style wire brush, just to get it just as clean as we can here. So we've got the choke back together. Now I'm sitting here staring at the metering plate, and it's time. We're gonna have to break the seal on the plastic so we can move along here. So now we're officially at the point of no return. Oh, and what do we got? We've got accelerator pump. On our accelerator pump, that little ball goes in there. This is a sleeve, and then there's a slot in the actual shaft of the accelerator pump. Then you have this spring that goes between this outer shaft and the accelerator pump shaft, and then on the back side of that is where you're gonna see, you know, this maybe looks a little more regular, and normal to y'all. Anyway, this is how it goes in, and then we kind of just, that ball will stay in there, but it's a little scary because if it flies out, it's going a long ways away. That there, fat into the diaphragm spring goes down. This guy comes in like this. And then we can start putting our screws back in. Now we've got the power valve going on, and so the original one didn't have, all it had was, where are you? Where are you, original one? Here it is. It had metal and it was captured by rubber on both sides, and I just about, in fact I started to put this new one in by itself. But then we took a little bit closer look, and the new one, replacement one, yeah, we're still here. We're still doing this. Does not have the rubberized gasket or a gasket on the bottom side. And we looked up the instructions for this particular kit just to make sure, and looked at our exploded diagram, and sure enough, we've got this little gasket here that he needs to go on this side of this whole deal. And then we can set it down on here and screw things in. So if you're ever, you know, doing one of these oddball one barrel Holleys, all right, now we're all right there. It's pressing down on here. So what should we do next? Now I think we're headed towards needle and seat and float, and here we're gonna have another issue. We do have a cloth gasket that may fit this. It does not. So odds are we're going to reuse our metal one. And then in this kit for the needle and seat, there's a whole nother plastic baggie with a needle that's way longer and some sort of a bridge needle and seat assembly that, yeah, I don't know where it goes, to be honest with you. It doesn't go in here though, so we gotta make a little gamble. We have our sideways needle and seat. It does not have any kind of a spring retainer on it, and we're gonna try and reuse it. It was in really good shape, and now where did I, you know, it ended up in the bag. It's in really good shape, so we're just gonna go for it. It goes in here. Now we peeled off the O-ring that was on here. Luckily we got our HMBR, the green O-rings out, and I think we have one to replace it that's gonna seal all right. We'll put just a little bit of lubricating oil on that so we don't tear it going in. And then let's see, I think we got to do float first, don't we? Yeah, float first. Come on. Set him like that, and then we can take this and we'll start threading this in, and then we should feel just a little bit of a resistance as that O-ring seats. I think we're pretty happy with that. Hopefully this doesn't stick or leak. Hopefully the needle, oh gosh, I put the needle in there backwards, you guys. I'm a dummy. All right, well, let's do this again for funsies. We can check our O-ring that way, make sure that it's not sliding off where it's supposed to be. It looks really good, actually. Now let's go ahead and put this needle in the right way. Now, we're good. So, fuel pressure pushes the needle out and fills the bowl. When the float comes up, it's enough to stop the fuel pressure and stop the filling of the bowl. So, pretty simple setup. Hopefully it works as advertised. And then I think that's all the pieces for inside of here. Okay, to set the float on this one, it's got a little table and it says invert the carburetor, and then at the toe, and you get your little measuring stick here from inside the bottom of the float bowl up 9/32, and then you bend this tang here to adjust that, and we did one little adjustment and we're right there, 9/32. So that's where that's at. And oh, by the way, it gives you a little table, so it kind of explains to you. So American Motors, 59 to 62. Some Comets, some Edsels. Ford used this on a bunch of their 6-cylinders. The early Falcons, the 215s, the 170s, and the 213s. The 50s to early 60s Ford trucks. 6-cylinders, GMC 6-cylinders, and then some Internationals and some Mercuries, 223s. So, golly, oh, even the Scout 4, International Harvester Scout 4-cylinder used little Holley 1-barrel. So, pretty cool. A little more use out there than I thought, but it's all from 52 to 64. At the latest. So an antique right here in my hands. Now onto the bowl. This is pretty self-explanatory, so there's probably going to be a little bit of fast forward action. Call that good. So float, fuel inlet is all set up. Now let's see here. We got to put our base on. We aren't going to use any of that stuff. Tell you what, one thing's for sure. This is the good old days. Not a lick of thread sealer on these threads for either the fuel inlet or the choke pull off here. Okay, had this guy flip-flopped. So our cam at idle. This is hot idle, so choke closed, we're gonna have faster idle. It's gonna come all the way up to here, and then as it warms up, choke pulls off, idle reduces. So we're good there. We've got our little jam nut on there. Now let's see if we can master putting the rest of this choke together. There. Choke. No choke. Was it? Sounded like a cat. There you have it. Now let's try and get these guys cleaned up a little bit. We're gonna have to make a new air horn gasket for right here. What I'm probably going to use, I'll show you here in just a second, but it should work out pretty good. Okay, now to make sure no air sneaks in between the top of the carburetor and this little adapter hat for the air filter, we're going to go to the old, you know, bag of tricks here. As you can tell, this sits around the shop for quite a while. This is plumber's putty in the form of, they call it rope caulk. We use this a lot. It's a great way if you're a jeeper or a mudder and you need to keep your electronics dry, but you need to keep them in a state that you can still get to them. Silicone will keep them dry, but sometimes it's a little tough prying off a distributor cap that's been siliconed on. Use this stuff, rope caulk, plumber's putty. That's what it looks like right there. Use that stuff. It'll keep things dry, plus you can take stuff apart, put it back together, and kind of recycle this stuff. So we're going to take a thin bead of this, we're rolling it down into a little thinner of a diameter than how it comes out of the box there. It don't have to be perfect, and we're going to come right into that edge. We'll take this guy, slide him down on. Whoops. I want to make sure he's straight. He's straight that time. Slide him down on. It'll start to ooze out just a little bit. And then we need to take our collar and put that on there. The last screw for this carb rebuild will go right here. You can see down in there, as that pulled together, the white stuff here is that rope caulk squeezing out. So that's airtight down in there. You don't have to go over tight with it. Just snug it together. Life is good. Holley 2051 one-barrel carburetor from a 1962 AMC Rambler. Done. Ready to rock and roll back into action. Thanks for watching this one. We're going to have more Rambler on the channel. Look for another carburetor and rescue video once we get this back on the engine. Next thing is getting a little bit of coolant in it, and it's up on blocks already, but we're going to get it running halfway decent, get it running for a few minutes so we can tell that the engine, you know, hopefully is going to be, you know, long-lived. And then we're going to check clutch and run it through the gears and that kind of stuff while it's sitting on blocks before that customer makes the ultimate decision on, You know, he's got 2 of these, and we got to kind of combine the 2 into one, you know, cool unit. So this is our next step. Look for another video of this on the engine and running. We got 700 subscribers just the other day. Everything's coming together for us. Life is pretty good. I hope you enjoy this content. Thanks for liking and subscribing and clicking the bell and all that good stuff. Appreciate each and every one of you. We'll catch you on the next video.